Well, to give you some context for that number, as you say, there's been 7 quarters of consecutive deterioration in terms of the health of UK companies, 527,000 showing signs of significant distress. Putting it in context, that's about 14% of UK business, the overwhelming majority of which are SMEs. The really worrying factor, though, is that figure had increased slightly since before we went into lockdown, but we haven't yet really seen the effect of the pandemic, and we're expecting that to come through or begin to come through in the next quarter's figures. So it was already a really bleak picture going into the lockdown and the pandemic, and we expect that to only deteriorate significantly from here on in.
And I just want to come back to the point that I was making before you joined us around moral hazard and creative destruction, because there's a lot of people out there who look at what the government is doing, all the support it's providing, and say that it's actually keeping a lot of zombie companies going, which really weren't viable in the first place and shouldn't be kept going. So how does this work into the picture? How does this factor in the balance between aiding the companies that need the help and are in a strong position and letting those fall away who perhaps aren't well placed to survive in the future?
Well, the point you make has been very prevalent since the financial crisis. In the UK, we had a variety of measures that were designed to keep businesses alive. So the banks weren't in active recovery mode initially because of the problems they were facing themselves. Through HMRC, our support measures there, something called time to pay, we kept a lot of businesses alive. And we've had this very sustained period of low interest rates, which has meant businesses have been able to carry on servicing their loans. So that's what contributed to this hardcore of zombie businesses even before the lockdown. And it was a very valid question there. Should we be keeping these businesses alive? Because all that really does is postpone a natural recovery. By keeping those businesses alive, we prevent the strong businesses gaining the extra market share, which is when we see a bounce back. That picture now is even more marked because there's only a limited amount of support money that is going to be available, and a huge amount of that has already been spent. So yes, it's very important that we get that money to the correct businesses, the ones that didn't have a viability issue before the pandemic, so that we focus on keeping those good businesses alive going forward. And that's where we're going to help to stimulate the recovery coming out of this, not by spending that money right across the board and keeping every business alive, albeit at the moment we've been dealing with emergency measures like everybody else, trying to navigate our way through this. But at some point we need to restore some sort of natural order and focus on those good businesses, and they're the ones we should be supporting.